Alright, let's do it. What up, YouTube? It's me, Rizil, back on the channel with another one. And today, this isn't exactly a suggestion, but it is something I've seen popping up for a while since the YouTube algorithm has seen I've been interested in bands like NOFX. Yes, I'm saying it properly now. Uh, Not only for reactions, but they've realized that I'll be listening to them. So they have been recommending this song called Generation Z for a while now, and I'm interested in terms of what the song might have in store, honestly speaking, because I'm Gen Z. Unfortunately, I spent like early 20s thinking I was a millennial. I was like one of the younger millennials, but then I realized, oh no, I caught the tail end of being part of the Gen Z generation, and I'm one of the older Gen Zs. But before we start this, I feel like in terms of third world youth, we are more millennial than Gen Z. Because we don't have the necessary privileges and luxuries and delusions that the first world generation has. That type of like Gen Z mentality. We call Gen Z, but it's a lot more real for us. That's why I feel like we're more of millennials than Gen Z. Yes, this is me trying to separate myself from Gen Z. I'm so freaking embarrassed. But fuck it. We're gonna. What the hell happened to my laptop? For some reason, my laptop switched off for no reason, bro. I'm gonna pause this and we're gonna get to this in just a few minutes. Let me check what happened to my laptop because this is very strange. Cut my whole life to pieces. This is my last resort. I do not know what happened, guys. I do not know what happened. I hope there's no problem with my laptop because like just like a month ago or so I got it fixed. And I don't want any more problems because I am not a rich person. I'm not even a middle class person anymore. I was raised middle class. I'm not even that anymore. But yeah, here we go. Gen Z, let's get to it. Let's get to the reaction.
I think that our kids will probably see the end of humanity as we know it, cause this world's about to blow it. Will they see what they saw in ancient Rome? The destruction of the home? Will they see the end of civility? Cause when morality's been blurred, procreation seems absurd, and human rights and freedom are just words that have lost all their meaning in a world that is bleeding like an animal in slaughter. I hope that my daughters never know what it feels like to give up, to know the whole world is corrupt, to realize they are really on their own and there's no one left who cares about the future. Infected cuts don't need a suture. There's a feeling that the human race has seen the checkered flag and the laughs that are given
reality. But then again, who would have ever read them? We read the Parkoram for lunch, eat Old Testaments for a snack, and read the Lilith Bible before bed. There's no more point of view when your only thought is food. The Bible has been replaced with a survival guide that uses perishables instead of parables. Because there's no stories left to preach. There's no life lessons left to teach anyone. Why bother? Who are we? Are we the intellects or the insects? We're not the ones who will ever know the answer. It's impossible for us to imagine what is right in front of us. I guess that's what makes us think we're human. But being human only lets us see a little farther than animals. Feel depression from spending most of your life working? Try chemicals. Chemicals make everything better. Hate, love, morality, they're just chemical reactions. Are we just chemically imbalanced ants? Or chemically fueled rants? It really just comes down to sex and power. I'm at the last man standing, the last human on this planet, the last person on the earth doesn't give a shit. The idea that he, or most likely she, is the last one. The last person on this planet will fuck the dead and die thinking not about why didn't anyone care, but why her life was so unfair. It's time. It needs to be said. I'm sorry to be the one to inform you, but man and womankind has unfortunately been pronounced dead.
As you can see, I had to react to the lyric video. I couldn't just react to the audio, and I feel it's been a blessing in disguise. Because honestly speaking, it's one, it's raining, two, you saw what happened with the lights, and three, I really like to pay attention to the lyrics, so it's raining really hard. I hope this doesn't affect the audio, even though I have a microphone. But to get to it in general, do I think Gen Z is messed up like the way they're saying? Honestly speaking, I don't think it's the end, like the way the video is saying, like mankind, womankind has been pronounced dead. It's the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do think there's merits and like demerits in terms of like our generation, just like the millennials, just like Gen Z. I mean, sorry, Generation X, the baby boomers, the ones before the baby boomers. I don't know what they call the fossils. I don't know, bro. Uh, but I do think there's merits and demerits in terms of our current generation. As a Gen Z, even though I've pretty much made it clear I'm embarrassed about some of the things that are some of the ways we carry ourselves, like this whole debate about what is male and female. Like, are we living in the fucking Twilight Zone? Like, what do you mean what is male and what is female? How is what you imagine yourself to be and what you're trying to make yourself to be, which isn't naturally you, like, different from the actual reality that you are actually a man or a woman naturally? Like, these are the type of things that you're looking at and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? So that's one. But in terms of Gen Z, yes, as I said, there's advantages and disadvantages to like where we are in our current state. Advantage is we are more informed. We are harder to lie to. People might think like, yeah, social media and all, it can manipulate you, it can this, it can do that. It causes like maybe toxic imbalances in our heads. I've felt the brunt of that, the experiences with that, of having to control myself with social media, and I'm proud to say that I've kicked a lot of bad habits, you know, like overly staying on social media. I'm barely there. I even operate social media from my laptop mostly now. I don't have the apps. I think I only have honestly YouTube and WhatsApp. I kicked porn like months ago, honestly speaking. I don't watch porn anymore, like fully. It's out of my system, and I thank God for that. I was never a porn addict, but it was hard for me to just stop cold turkey, you know. It was always a thing to like go back to, you know, and I'm glad I got out of that. I got out of that crutch. I do believe that's one of the things that was also like, again, in terms of a demerit. You know what? Let me get to the merit in terms of should I even like transition to the demerit in terms of porn, or should I just continue with the way I was going? let me just continue with the way I was going, and then I'll get to the demerits with porn and all of that, right? But the merit is we are more informed, even though, like, with all of the social media, people do try to attempt to manipulate us, but the benefit of our generation is we have more access to the internet and more access to everything in general with the resources that we have, it's harder to lie to us. It's easier for us to share information and bring down the powers that be through the knowledge that we gain from the internet, and how much of a grasp we have over it. I think it was harder for the previous generations in terms of like gaining this knowledge, especially the previous generation of my people, in Africa, as well as other third world countries. Not just in Africa, there's other third world countries out there, but especially Africa. It was harder for our parents. I see it with my parents, honestly, because they are quite intelligent, but they were also like not like taught a lot of things that we naturally know. Like me personally, I'm a history buff, right? And I know all of this information about different things, and different things that I'm interested in, from whether it's history, whether it's mathematics. Even though I suck at math, I just like to study the different mathematicians. Whether it's like superheroes and comic books, all these things, everything that you want to learn and what you want to like know of and obsess about, like, you don't need school anymore. It's just a touch of a button. It's just even like learning music. That's how I learned how to produce, and like, everything. Access to the internet. Our parents didn't really have that. That's why sometimes when I have conversations about like with my parents or with relatives and all of that, or we in general, like even people around me, friends, relatives, um there is a disconnect, because it's like they almost stand there bewildered, and they either get like very silent because like they don't really know what you're talking about. They're surprised all of this information. Or some of the more toxic older people get very prideful and very arrogant. That's not even me trying to insult them. It's just like what it is. Like they get very, oh, you young people, you think you know one, two, three, and no matter how young and ignorant we are in terms of like our current generation, we do know a lot. I will say that we do know a lot, and that whole excuse that the older generation gives of like, we were in your position. No, you were once our age, but you were not in our position exactly. The world has totally 180 from the time that you were. We are dealing with a whole different thing. That's why even like in terms of even relationships, when I've talked to my friends about it, especially the girls that I'm friends with, I was like, stuff that our parents and like the older adults told us about like relationships and how to conduct ourselves, especially us men, and how to treat women, like that shit is like out the fucking window nowadays. Like the world they prepared us for, it no longer exists. It got Oppenheimer. It's done. It no longer, like, those rules don't even fucking apply. We are in the wilderness. So in terms of that, that is currently what we are dealing with, and that's currently the amount of knowledge we have. It's just access to the internet and everything. We are more informed, and due to us being more informed, we have a better chance of fighting back against the powers that be. I'm not going to point fingers because I don't want to get assassinated. No, it gets real out there. But in terms of our demerits, yes, in terms of the internet and everything, and like the different things that we sort of hold value over, that they don't really make sense. I feel like, honestly speaking, it I'm trying to put the right words together. It is sort of like the Twilight Zone, you know, like the thing with like porn. I said I was gonna get back to porn. The problem with porn in terms of our generation is, and the way it's fed our generation to the point where we are so desensitized to it. I'm very desensitized to porn. It's even affected like my relationships, honestly. It's even affected my relationships, even though I've never really been like a porn addict. It still affected me. But the problem with it is it takes you away from like the real world. Some of these things, not just porn, but some of these things on the internet, some of these things that we hold of value today that are very electronic based, it takes you away from the real world, and it desensitizes you to a lot of the realities of how human beings are naturally built by the grace and the hands of God. We are naturally built to be one way, and then now we're giving each other, it basically like these different things that we have access to nowadays. It like drugs us into having like a substitute to something that's very natural. You're supposed to go out there, you're supposed to talk to females, you're supposed to, what you call, build like proper, necessary relationships and friendships with people. I miss the days in our childhood where we'd go and just play soccer in the holidays for the entire day, or we'd go to the swimming pool for the entire day, or we'd just be hanging around, running around the neighborhood for the entire day. That was my childhood. And now I live at a time as an adult where I barely go outside, and when I go outside, it's usually on a mission instead of enjoying myself. We sort of in a rut of working instead of a rut of not a rut instead of an experience of enjoyability. And that is the current problems we have nowadays. Honestly, we have been giving like what is the technical term for it? What term can I even like come up for it? We have been given some sort of drug to honestly pacify us from the reality of what's going on, and it can affect us very badly and very heavily. So I think that's one of the things that what you call our generation is lacking, is we have so much luxury because not only are we in the most peaceful times, honestly speaking, we are in the most peaceful times, but we are in the most privileged times in terms of where someone can make money off of a reaction video and all of that. That we just outside of what is the reality and what is the actual things that we need to do in order to progress in life properly. Normal things of that what you can do to come together with your fellow man and build is no longer a reality. Everyone is for themselves. The geniuses of this world have given up on this world to the extent where they'd rather make money and look out for themselves than bother with helping with this world, not because they're evil, but because this world is genuinely lost. So who's in power? The stupid people. I don't mean to call them stupid, it's just a reality. I mean, you saw the American, what you call presidential debates a week ago. That shit was crazy, you know. Imagine if the more intelligent people, the people who weren't so obsessed with making money, the actual geniuses, were in power instead of like Kanye West running for president or some shit. Just imagine how much better we would be. But I could talk about this all day, guys. There's a lot of merits and demerits, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I still think there's hope, and I still think with the way our generation is definitely more accepting of people of color, more accepting of people of a different culture, of a different background, of a different sexuality, despite like some of it being like just like crazy. I do believe there's hope with how much we accept and try to understand each other and how natural we are with each other. One of the biggest flexes I have and I talk about is the fact that the way me and my friends are just so naturally together that we just, it's not like, oh, that's Seth, my black friend or whatever. My parents didn't have that. It was always, I know this Indians, I know that Indian, I know this white guy, Whereas our friends, me and my friends, we don't see each other as just our race. And that's one of the biggest flexes. We're in a new time, and obviously since we're in a new time, there's always gonna be hope. But that's been me. Hope I didn't waste too much of your time. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the post notifications, and thank you for joining me today. This has been a mouthful.
Breathe in. Yeah. Lyrical masonry casing me as I patiently place it in jotted notes that are making me go evoke all the omens that I'll be holding me, choking me. Don't misquote me or clothe me with the sheep clothing, which mostly is for the OGs with homies who lead them on for their self gain.